Bert, who will break the tie when it comes to figuring personnel matters out? What is the hierarchy within the Patriots front office right now with Ryan Cowden coming?
Yeah.
And with Eliot Wolf here and Mike Vrabel walking through the door, what is it?
So the reporting structure, my understanding was, is going to remain the same. So Vrabel will report to ownership and Eliot Wolf will report to ownership. So I don't think Eliot's reporting to Vrabel. So that's, I think that's the way a lot of teams do it. It's obviously different than it was here before when Bill was here. So that part of it is unchanged. My feeling is that Vrabel is going to be the one to break the ties, that he's the one in charge. But I think where people are getting it twisted is you cannot run it like the way it was when Bill was here. And it just, no one does it that way anymore. It doesn't exist across the NFL anymore. And I don't know, I haven't listened to a ton over the last couple of days, but it sounds a little bit like people here think that's what it's going to be, and that's not right either. And it'd be dumb to do it that way.
What about the arranged marriage aspect of it, though? Why not let Vrabel bring in his front office guy and have two guys that are on the same page?
They did, and I think so. It's and I usually hate the half measures, all right? But I do think, to some degree, so first of all, Eliot's not going to come in here and shove players down the coach's throat. It's just not who he is. It's not the way people from that tree operate. It doesn't, I don't think it's going to exist that way. I think they're going to set the table for the coaches, and they're going to set the draft board. And I think the way you probably want to look at this is it's the front office's job to build the roster up. It's the coach's job to cut the roster down. And same way you look at when you're in the draft room, you're building up. Here's the prospects that fit us. The coaches are working on cutting it down. It's again, in this day and age, it's too much to ask one coach to do all of that. I would say, I think Ryan Cowden comes in, and he and Mike have been talking about this for a couple of years. He and Mike had a dry run at it at the end in Tennessee. There's clearly some synergy there, and Mike was involved to some degree in personnel in Tennessee, and he had final say over his last year there. He was the hammer. He was in, what you're talking about, had final say over everything. So that last year in Tennessee, he was the decision maker, even with Rand Carthon in there as the general manager. And so he and Ryan Cowden had their dry run. Mike has had a dry run as kind of the final authority on things. And now I think Eliot Wolf and Ryan Cowden get 4 months to figure it out and see what this looks like. Because on paper, it's going to be Eliot Wolf as the executive vice president of player personnel. I believe Ryan Cowden will come in as the vice president of personnel, so he'll be the number 2. And you find a way to make that work, and I think you reassess in May.
Oh, so you make that work until spring, and then you could potentially blow it all up.
But
I was going to ask you.
No, but you're not counting on it. But you're not counting on it being a problem. If it is a problem, you address it then. You know what I mean? You are going into this with the idea we're going to make this work, and then if it doesn't, you get to May and you deal with it.
Well, I just think that there could be a lack of trust, number one, because nobody should trust anybody in that business. And number 2, he may not think the guy does a good job. And Mike Vrabel say, why do we have this guy here? Why do we need him? What's the point of this? Let's open this back up. Let's do a search, and let's rename someone else to the post.
All right, let's think logically here. Mike Vrabel's had a year to look at this job and all the other jobs that are open there. Do you think Mike Vrabel didn't do his research on Eliot Wolf?
I think Mike Vrabel was in a position
I was just going to ask
that he could eliminate anybody who is in Eliot Wolf's position.
Let me give you guys some background here because this isn't that hard to figure out. So there's a guy in Tennessee named Chad Brinker who's now the president of football operations. He and Eliot Wolf worked together for a decade. Okay? If Eliot Wolf wanted to get out of here, there's a general manager job open in Tennessee that he probably could go get. Okay? Wasn't involved in that. Chad Brinker and Mike Vrabel worked together for a year in Tennessee. Chad Brinker and Mike Vrabel are also from a similar part of the country and have a good rapport and have talked. So I think Mike Vrabel has background on Eliot Wolf.
Yep.
So then why is
And-
Ryan Cowden here then? What's the point?
Because
Bullshit.
you're bringing in somebody to help implement what you want. Like Mike Vrabel has a profile of player that he is looking for, and so you want to bring in somebody who's going to help you set that profile, that player profile for the personnel department. And look, like I know this is all hard to understand. I know that there's like a lot of moving pieces, and people don't know like the connections within the league and the way all this stuff works. But like Mike had options. Mike isn't coming here and leaving Eliot Wolf in charge and mentioning Eliot Wolf 15 times in his opening press conference if he's not trying to make a point. And his point was, I think at least, I can work with this guy. And it's because of what he was hearing back from people that he trusted. Okay? So I think that like the amount of connections they have. In fact, I heard Mike learned the Packer grading system from Chad Brinker when they were in Tennessee together. So like, there's that part of it.
Does
too.
he employ it? Does he like it?
I mean, we'll see. But like, but Mike is.
Walked into it.
I mean, I did. But like, I've listened to you guys talk about this with Elliot and with Alex and with some other people.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna say this.
What?
All right. No matter who they hire over the next 15, 20 years, who gets fired, who gets hired, who works here, chances are I'm going to know them. All right. So this idea, I'm just telling you, this idea that like, oh yeah, like Breer is in on this guy. Breer,
Oh, you're in on this guy. You love this guy.
I know, but I know a lot of people, and like I'm trying to give you guys the proper background on these people, and it's just, I mean, look, I hate source guessing to begin with, and I think like Mike Reese has gone off on this a couple times, and I love Mike for doing that with you guys, where it's like what was that he was offended by? The people,
that he was given
The planted question.
planted question.
right?
Yeah.
These like our jobs, like my job is to know everybody. My job is not to know 5 people in the league and climb in bed with them. My job is to know everybody so I can treat everybody fairly. And like
But they're like children. You do play favorites.
no, I don't. And I would guarantee
Shanahan, come on. You like Shanahan a little bit more.
Was
than
I
the
getting
rest.
information when Belichick was the coach here?
Yes.
Was I getting information when Mayo was the coach here?
Yes.
I would I try to do the job the best I can. I'm just telling you, like, if you think like that, like I'm basing anything that I do on what 1 or 2 people think, like I find that insulting. Like, because I think I've done this for a lot longer than to be in a spot like that. You know what I mean? And so like when I heard Mike say what he said, I was kind of pumped my fist because I was, freaking tell him, Mike, because like when you go through it takes a long time to get to the point where you have a massive network of people. And so like what I try to do on a day-to-day basis is treat people fairly. That's all I'm trying to do. And I think the perception of Eliot Wolf around here sucks and is wrong. And so I'm going to call that out, like the same way I think there were.
It is. It's 95% to 5%.
It sucks. I mean, and it's BS. And I think the Alex Van Pelt thing was all based on physical appearance. If you want me to call it the way I see it, I think that was based on the way that Alex looks, and I think that sucks because I think he's a good offensive coach. Is he Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan? No, but I think he's a really good offensive coach who earned the right to have that sort of opportunity. And I've made this comparison the last few days. Put Mike Tomlin and Mike McCarthy's resumes right next to each other. They look almost identical. Now tell me about the perception of the two.
The Mike's a badass, and Mike's a
bumbling idiot.
Yeah.
Right. I just think like some of these things, like
Mike Tomlin would have won more if you gave him Aaron Rodgers.
Whatever.
Ben Roethlisberger.
I mean, he's but
That's Ben.
Mike McCarthy's
That's not Aaron Rodgers.
Mike McCarthy's won in multiple places.
We're getting sidetracked.
I'm just all right. So anyway, that's my rant on that because it's not like what I say here has nothing to do.
So you think
with
Eliot
one
Wolf has done a
person.
good job?
I don't think we can know yet. That's the thing. It's like I don't think you can know yet.
So anything that's happened in the last year doesn't count?
No, it doesn't. It does count, Beetle. But like I think one off season, you look at any person.
He told us the offensive line was going to be decent.
You look at any.
His left tackle quit after 12 plays.
All right,
He drafted Polk and Baker. I mean, that was a really important
offseason. You fixed the offensive line. You fixed the offensive line. This was a dumpster fire that they inherited. This was not a single season.
Bert, they didn't hire me to be GM. They hired him, and he didn't do it.
This was a dumpster fire. For anyone to think that they could go and win 9 or 10
they couldn't
games
do better
this year
than they did,
was insane.
He's done a good job.
Was insane. I'm not saying he's done a good job. I don't know yet.
See, that's
but I know that doesn't help you. I know that doesn't help you.
The same thing I asked Andrew Callahan a month ago when I was talking about Gerard Mayo. He said, "Do you think he's any good at this?" And he said, "We don't have a big enough sample." Ownership had a big enough sample. They fired the guy 3 weeks later.
Well, with the GM.
And it's like, what do you mean you don't have a sample? You have an entire year. Have they made progress? I'm not saying have you fixed all the problems. Have you made progress?
Well,
is this roster in a better place now outside of the quarterback, which, yes, he drafted? Credit.
Okay.
Is the roster outside of that one draft pick, which, again, Conkey the robot could have made. Okay? Any idiot could have made that pick. Has outside of that, the roster gotten a lot better or significant improvement of any kind, progress that you can see from a year ago? Have they improved the roster?
How do you know? Like you
because it's the same.
You're talking about. You're talking about. All right, so you spent.
They signed all their guys back.
You spent your number one asset.
They struck out in free agency.
You spent the number.
Couldn't land Ridley. Couldn't land Ayuk. Couldn't get anybody that lasted more than 12 plays at left tackle.
Do you know how? Do you know how unattractive?
We don't know yet. We don't know anything yet.
Beetle. This is one of the least attractive destinations for free agents in the NFL. Period. Millionaires tax, bad weather, no football players are from here. Like that is what you're up against. I'm from here. I love it here. I'm here to tell people here that this is one of the least attractive places in the NFL to go to. It is Buffalo without Josh Allen.
Maybe they should have offered the most money.
It is Green Bay before Brett Favre.
They should have maybe offered the most money on Calvin Ridley.
Okay, and that's fair. But look at the year Calvin Ridley had. Do you want to be paying $60 million a year for that?
Yeah, I think that money's going to look not that much now because look at the money that receivers are about to get.
Okay, fine. I'm just telling you, like the GM's job is not to look at a single off season and say I got to do everything this year. All right, and I just think like there are so many examples. Like go back and look at John Lynch's first draft in San Francisco. It was not good. His 2 first-round picks were Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster. You tell me if John Lynch has done a good job there.
Well, I also know that Eliot Wolf didn't show up on the doorstep a year ago. But he's worked here for a little while.
But what happened in San Francisco was because they had one and done 2 coaches in a row, because they hitched their wagon to the wrong horse in Trent Baalke, they had to give John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan 6-year deals. And they had to say, let's ride this out. And we're going to give you some room to build. And we know it's going to take time. And we know there are going to be hits and there are going to be misses. And it took them time to do it, and they had time to do it, and they built it up. I'm not saying Eliot Wolf's going to become John Lynch, but like I am saying like you cannot judge a general manager after 1 year. And you talk about ownership's decision-making, this job would be more attractive if there was no one. If you said to every head coach out there, you can bring whatever general manager you want with you, this job is more attractive on the coaching market. They thought enough of Eliot Wolf not to do that, okay, to hold on to Eliot Wolf. So, like, if you want to say ownership, if you want to point to ownership and say they knew about Gerard Mayo after a year, they didn't do the same thing with Eliot Wolf, and it would have been cheaper to fire Eliot Wolf than Gerard Mayo.
I think they are going to fire him. I don't think he's going to last. I think when they reassess, he's going to be the guy who's the odd man out. So I don't think he's long for the job.
It's possible, but I think it's really tough. And again, if it turns out over the next 4 months that Eliot Wolf cannot work with Ryan Cowden and Mike Vrabel, I agree with you. Get rid of him. Like, if he can't, I agree with you. Like, that's 100% a reason to get rid of somebody. But to judge someone on a single offseason, you can't fix an offensive line in an offseason when your problems are at tackle.
I didn't say fix. I just say do better than you did. Have any sign of progress. There's no progress. They're starting over again. Their problems on the offensive line are worse now than they were a year ago. They've gone backwards.
Do we know that?
Yes. They don't have bodies.
They're terrible.
They don't have anybody.
They were awful last year, too.
They literally have to go out and find guys. They don't even have guys.
They were awful last year, too.
I know. I'm aware of that, and they now are in a worse spot a year later.
They don't have a backup tackle.
They don't have
Let
anything.
alone two starters.
So
They're starting over at receiver again this year. All those guys should be cut. They're not cut out for
so
this.
you don't think Jalen Polk has
No.
any chance at all?
Nope, I don't. There was nothing there. I don't think that's going to work. I don't think Baker's going to work. I think they're fighting for a roster spot on this team.
All right. So
in year 2.
All I'm saying is I think it takes more than one. It takes more than 1 year to figure out what a general manager is. You just don't know.
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.